Alistair Seeley looks on that 600cc EHA Racing Yamaha. So Seeley it is, always a fast starter, this time from pole position. Alongside him, Kyle Wright. Oh, Wright almost gets the jump, and he moves across in front of Kennedy. Kennedy has nowhere to go. Bradley Jones can move around the outside of him. Kennedy attempts to hold station and does as they go through paddock, but inevitably the man who skips to the front from pole position is Seeley. Kyle Wright straight away trying to muscle his way through on the inside, and that looked like a great move by Bradley Jones, getting around the outside of Jack Kennedy to drop downhill inside into Graham Hill Bend, and he nabs third place from his teammate.
Yeah, he does indeed. That was, as you say, it was a nice little move from him, and behind them you've got Kerr, and also it's a good start from Wilson there in
it is, isn't it? Ben Wilson gets his best start and best position of his returning season so far as they go downhill, with Kennedy trying to make a move on Brad Jones, but Jones is quick, and Kennedy can only sit there for a moment in fourth place, with Alistair Seeley trying to stretch the gap at the front. It was noticeable as we watched. Whoa, look how tight Ben Wilson was going into West Side.
Yeah, I think he made a bit of a mistake the corner before, which just cost him a place. But with just 8 laps, this really is. This was a sprint race at 12, and Kennedy just a bit on the inside. It was tight there, but he knows he's got to get going. He's like, as we say, we've only got 8 laps, so he can't let Seeley find his rhythm out front and just make this break. He's got Kyle Wright behind him, and already he's climbing away around the outside. He's not going to do it around there. He's going to have to come back to the inside for paddock.
So he's going to make a late braking attempt now on Kyle Wright, but Wright's not going to let that happen. Look at the way that GP2 bike shattered its way over the bumps there into Paddock Bend.
Yeah, almost looks like the bodywork sort of does, you know, it's God, look at Wright in there, brilliant. Just a little bit too wide. Is he going to just... No, he doesn't lose it out, but you can see he's quite floaty, that bike. The way he has it set up there, it's almost the rear, on the way at the entry, the rear's quite floaty, like the front's a tad soft. He does seem to want to back in a bit, Wright's bike there, number 77. It's weird, he takes that outside foot off there as well, in that first bit of the corner.
So these guys, what contrast in style you've got here. The tiny, tidy little old school of Alistair Seeley at the front. The manic and exciting Kyle Wright in second place. And the experienced Jack Kennedy, because he is into his 30s now, the Dubliner. And right behind him is young teammate Brad Jones, who again he's a pretty calm, stylish kind of rider on that second blue Yamaha as they dive down into D Elite, with Kennedy just thinking about looking for a move on the inside, and always terrified whenever they go through Sheen Curve, as we see Kyle Wright bang his way to the front going into Stirling. He's still looking for that overall win here, and they fan out 4 abreast as they head through clearways.
I haven't seen Wright quite be, you know, with his feet off thing. I've never seen him do it quite as much, quite as dramatically. He certainly never did that in the past. This is a new thing that he's doing a lot more on this GP2 bike.
Kennedy takes a vital move on Alistair Seeley there, and Brad Jones tries to squeeze through on the inside and does. Well, they know that they've got to put one over the AHA Racing man if they're to claw back some of those points here. Jack Kennedy looking to see if he can make a move on Kyle Wright. Oh, and Kyle Wright puts a hand up. What does that mean?
What's up? Well, I mean, they might put their hand up, but it's not, you know, until the organisers decide something,
There's a diminished adhesion flag.
Yeah, but it's been the point is, it is a wet race, so it doesn't matter if it rains, if it pours with rain, everyone has a choice. It's spitting, like Wright's forgotten that, and it doesn't make any difference. They've chosen their tyres, you can see it lightly spitting there, and it's going to take away a bit, but there's no choice. You're not going to go out wet. That was tight.
Outside at Hawthorne, which is a huge right-hander, and he even lines up Jack Kennedy and does. Kennedy and Seeley, who's always, he is the wee wizard when it comes to slightly dodgy conditions. And he's, and a move by Kennedy, and again by Brad Jones going through Dingle Dell. 2 brilliant moves by the integral Yamaha boys.
Yeah, and look at this part of the circuit. It seems absolutely gorgeous on this part of the circuit. The sun's out, you can see the cameras are clear. And on the other part of the circuit, as we come out of sort of Druids, you can see it starts to spit a little bit. But
there's speckles of rain on our window now in front of us on the commentary position as we watch, and Kennedy puts his hand up, but I don't know that anything can be done about that. Seeley goes round his outside, or tries to.
did you see Seeley there as well? Just had it floating. They're waving their arms, but as we say, the point is, if it had been declared a dry race, then if it rained, it would stop it. But
perhaps are they just warning each other, James?
So, yeah, but the fact is, a wet race because it was stopped for the climate conditions. You know, it's you know, this isn't going to be stopped. So it doesn't matter how much they wave. And you'd have thought the experienced riders would have known that. And yes,
what a collision there between. That was Jamie Perrins come through, and he got clouted by number 97 Bradley Peary, because it's noticeable the GP2 bikes on their slick tyres are being squeezed backwards in the race now.
Well, you could see on that, this section's not too bad, but on that section you can see the reduced adhesion flags are out. This part of the circuit's okay. It was raining very heavy on the left-hander coming onto the back straight, and they have to be careful there. But it's half race distance at the moment. 2/3 is they're still waving it. It's going to be 5 laps, 6 laps, but they're just going to have to, you can see there, stay away from those white lines as well. The guys, it's just going to go to 2/3 distance this, so this is where the guys have got to be really, really careful.
And they've got to
nurse around, because you could have chosen, but the question is, everyone went out on dry tyres, people could have chosen wet tyres, and again, you can look at this, Seeley and Kennedy. Seeley just stepping up the inside. This is probably the wettest part of the circuit, these next few turns, so this is where the ride goes.
And a big moment there for Bradley Peary. Peary, who's, I was going to say, are we going to get an unexpected winner here? Because the lad from Kendal in Cumbria in the Lake District, look at the way he's closed them down. Does he perhaps have different tyres on? Bradley Peary, cautious now through Druids, but he's right with Brad Jones.
That's a really good point, as he got really good feel. Now again, this left-hander we saw was when he was pouring on this part of the circuit. Bradley Peary, look, number 97, what a job.
Here he comes.
And he's got wet. Did it look like he might have had? It's hard to say. They're all on slicks. Okay, he's on slicks. He's just got a magnificent
he's got
feel.
The outside of Bradley Jones. He could witness.
Well, at the end of the day,
Kennedy's inspired to go after him, thinking, what's he doing amongst us? So Kennedy goes back past Bradley Peary. Brad Jones strong, but Peary's hanging it out around the outside and sticks there.
Well, this is the best part of the circuit, so you can get your tyres stuck in again, get your heat in the tyres.
Here's Richard Kerr, another of the Irish boys, moves through. But look at this. This is a lad whose dad used to build his bike up in the kitchen. As they go up this is going to be a really unexpected potential result for 97 Bradley Peary. Here comes number 7 Richard Kerr, trying to find another way through, and Ben Wilson, as experienced as anyone out there except Alistair Seeley, is right back in the mix as well. Kennedy anxiously looks over his shoulder to see who on earth might come at him next, and it could be Richard Kerr there on the yellow and white bike.
And interestingly, it's stopped again by the looks of it now. The sun's come out. What a day we've had as they cross the line to start lap 6. So they have done over, just showing their wet race, so it's not going to be stopped for a little shower.
And that was a big move there, splitting Ben Wilson and Richard Kerr. That was Brad Jones, but look,
Kennedy there, just getting a real twitch on, coming out the bottom of paddock. You saw that, and then it's dry up again. The sun's come out. Look at this. You got Wilson's up there as well. Look at this, Kennedy and Peary. Peary's going to go the inside there.
Seeley versus Peary. Look at this. Bradley Peary comes from a motorcycling family. His granddad was an Irish road racer who actually lost his life tragically at Tandragee, and his uncles raced on the Irish roads and the TT, and look, he's got his hand up as well. Everybody's getting their hands up. Well, boys, it's a wet race. You're on the 6th lap of 8.
And look at Wilson. Look at Wilson who's come through. Look, this is just turning this race on the head.
Ben Wilson is coming. Ben Wilson is coming really strongly on bike number 15. Would you believe it? So let's check out with Stuart Hicks. Stuart.
Yeah, guys, just want to, obviously this is a slightly confusing situation, but very clearly the race status changes to a wet race when we stop for climatic conditions. So, dear old Alistair can wave as much as he likes, but this is a wet race. It was declared a wet race, and riders need to ride to those conditions. They have the choice to change tyres, and it doesn't get stopped for climatic conditions unless the track is absolutely unrideable. As we speak at the moment, I've got marshal reports in my ears that track conditions have stabilised and the rain flags are being withdrawn. So that's why we have dry race and wet race, and the tyre choice has to be made to reflect the race status, critically not the other way around. So, you know, we want the guys to be safe, but the rules exist, and that's why we are holding our nerve with the wet and dry race procedure.
Thank you, Stuart. But look at this. Here comes Ben Wilson. The 37-year-old could be on for the most magic comeback here after a 2-year layoff and a long, painful road to recovery. He could just bring Gaelic Kawasaki a race win, but he's got Alistair Seeley right behind him. Seeley wants those 25 points. He knows he could further extend his advantage over number 1, Jack Kennedy. Kennedy's trying to come back into the mix. He gets alongside Bradley Peary. He gets past Bradley Peary. Seeley retakes the advantage. Kennedy through into 3rd place.
Well, a lap and a half to go. What a race. Great stuff from Stuart there, just as we were saying. Anyway, the race isn't going to be stopped. So, look at that. Kennedy's back up into 2nd, so we've got just a lap and a bit to go. And you can see that the track has stopped again. It's not really spitting anywhere. And what a tight race. What an incredible race this is.
3 together through Sheen Curb, and Peary does manage to squeak round the outside of number 12 on the blue Integral Yamaha, Brad Jones. There here comes Kennedy, almost got alongside Alistair Seeley. He's trying to line the wee wizard up as they go into the final turn of the penultimate lap. So this could go any which way. Look at Kennedy. He manages to get it on early, and through the spits of rain that are still lingering on the front of our commentary booth as Bradley Jones comes through underneath Ben Wilson, and Seeley is now the man who's threatening race leader Kennedy. He comes up the inside up to Druids. He's surely got it cleanly, but Kennedy has a bit of a moment, loses the outside foot peg, has to yield as through Druids. Now he's got it to do again.
Yeah, I'm surprised he left that big door open on the inside, and see he does not need to be asked twice. And then we come out of here again. There's not that many spaces left. It's going to be really tight. Wilson's having another look up the inside of no, he can't do it on the inside of Jones. And you can see Kennedy's got to get this squared off. He's got a really good run out. He's going to look up the inside, come into this next turn.
Oh, absolutely. Bag papers between them as they come out of Surtees. He tries to move across on him. He tries to push him over. He can't believe they get the Dubliner out of his way, but he's got to cut back. He's done it before going towards Westfield. Yeah. Kennedy defends.
Really good riding there from Kennedy. He's made it very difficult. He's got to keep it neat. He's got to keep it tidy now.
And that's it, through Dingledell, into Sheen Curb. Brad Jones is still hanging there with the possibility of making a move on Seeley. And Seeley now will have it all to do as they come out of Stirling's. He's going to be thinking about which line to take as they head through Clearways and under the Clark Curb. It's all down to the final turn. Kennedy so desperately needs this race victory if he's going to pull points back on Seeley. Here comes the HA Racing Man, he's much lighter. He might be quicker, and they go for the line. And Kennedy shoves him over, and Seeley gets it. Seeley gets it by 0.026 of a second. And that was a furious Jack Kennedy. Seeley and Kennedy not up, happy with one another at the end of that race. And Kennedy obviously feeling that he'd been shown the edge of the track there by Alistair Seeley, and a fairly rumbustious conclusion to the Dickies British Supersport sprint race here at